Greetings, mortals, and welcome back to the channel. With me today, I have a very special guest. Introduce yourself, brother.
My name is Michael Lee Hill, and thank you for having me.
Perfect. So, do you want to tell your story? You've got quite the fascinating story. Most amazing I've heard in a long time.
Well, right on. I guess the reason why we're talking is, by the way, I just had eye surgery. So I'm not trying to look like a rock star, but I kind of got to put on my sunglasses. But anyhow, I was on the History Channel on UFO hunters because I began filming UFOs over Lake Erie and started to accumulate quite a library of footage. And that's what brought the History Channel to my door. Unbeknownst to me, they had interviewed another contactee. His name was Terrell Copeland, and he was a Marine, and he was in Washington. And he had filmed the same orbs of light, same kind of contact, same message given to him, but they found this unknown blood anomaly. So they thought, wouldn't it be weird if Michael and this guy had the same unknown blood anomaly? So they asked me if I was willing to go to Boston to have my blood work done. And actually, they didn't tell me exactly what it was about. They just said that they wanted to do an update to my story. If they would have told me, I probably would have said no, because I don't like needles at all. And
Who does?
but that's what it was, you know. So I went and had my blood work done, and the result was I don't have normal human blood. I know that sounds crazy, but welcome to my world. You know, this is a Harvard professor. His name was David Systrom. And so that sounds about as crazy to me as it does to anyone else. So I asked the doctor, I said, what are you talking about? This isn't a TV show anymore, you know? And he said, what do you think unknown means? We don't know what to tell you. He said, if I had to venture a guess, I would think that there's some type of virus that was at work, tricking the brain into releasing these massive amounts of an enzyme called creatine kinase. And he said, but we really don't know what to tell you. He said, what do you think unknown means? It wasn't like particularly nice about it either. Well, all right, I'd like to know. But that's where the story begins. And if you want me to keep going, I can keep going.
Keep
but,
on going.
If you want to interject.
No.
All right. From there, I was brought into the attention of the NSA remote viewers and reverse engineering division. And that's because they were already in technology transfer programs with the Anunnaki through the NSA. And so little did I know that these beings that I was in contact with over Lake Erie, they kind of amped up their game and made it very, no doubt about it, that they were in communication with me. And they started giving me a course of study and into cosmic harmonious frequencies. Well, at this time, I wasn't putting two and two together, that I was taken into the fold of the NSA reverse engineering to learn about cosmic harmonious frequencies. The Anunnaki themselves had begun using crop circles, much like a chalkboard in a classroom, to relate sacred geometry, but especially sacred geometry that is related to cosmic harmonious frequencies, which are 432 based math and physics. And when I would have a question, I'd say, well, I'd love to see that as a 7-pointed star, because they led me to understand the 7-pointed star is a direct reflection of a 432 base frequency. we can get into that. But the answer to my question of what that would look like as sacred geometry, like one day I asked to see it as a seven-pointed star, and it showed up in a crop circle in the UK the very next day, answering my question. And they showed me a brand new seed of life that's never been seen by mankind. How exciting is that? Everyone knows the six-petaled seed of life that creates the Star of David, the Merkaba double tetrahedron shape. But this is the seven-petaled version that they showed me. And they said this is truly the sacred geometry blueprint for the next phase of human evolution. So that's exciting.
Very much. So, what's your connection to the Anunnaki? Do tell.
They have a hybrid bloodline on this planet, and I am a member of that hybrid bloodline known as Nephilim in the Bible. The world's about ready to find out that we are also known as the Atlanteans or the Poseidians, which is the Inkyites, right? But we, 10,500 years ago, came up into the bottom of the North American continent, meaning the Mayan culture first, and teaching them pyramid building and the calendar and whatnot. But eventually, the flesh and blood sacrifice ceremonies started to set in. And the elders were like, well, they've learned something, but they obviously haven't learned enough. So we went on our way to Crystal River, Florida, as it turns out, eventually exiting the top of Florida on the left-hand side, intertwining into the North American Indian First Nation tribes of Indians, becoming known as the Mound Builders. And this is all exciting news because it truly is revealing the Anunnaki's hidden history, even on this planet, for a very long time. And it's not by coincidence that we're here,
So, how far back does humanity go? The story of humanity? They say 300,000. What's your information?
Yes, very, very far back. But the parts that we're really involved with is starting about 27,000 years ago is the event that we would consider to be the biblical deluge. And there was one earth change that was 51,000 years prior to that created another earth change. But 27,000 years ago, we needed help. And not only in surviving the flood, but in evolving at a rate of consciousness in an accelerated rate. So all of mankind was put under an experiment that would allow us to experience our own mental energy reflected back to us in an accelerated rate, unbiasedly. Whatever you put out, you're going to get back. And if it's fear, well, God help you, you're going to get back your own mental energy, light or dark, in a very amplified and magnified way. Could be love. I say choose love, choose the best love-filled outcome for everyone involved in the situation. Train yourself, especially in the heat of the moment where trial and tribulation is coming down hard on you, to stop yourself and go, all right, thank you for showing me what I got a fear stamp on. Now what else is available? Because see, the what else is available is what sets you free from the mass unconsciousness. Nothing wrong with the mass unconsciousness, but it's still filled with a lot of fear and doubt and nonsense. So if the thought forms that are coming into your head First 15 seconds, by the way, comes from the mass unconsciousness. We think it's our own voice because it's in our own head, and it is in our own voice, but we think we're thinking, but we're really listening. That's the voice of the mass unconsciousness. And it's usually going to say, I'm getting screwed again. Why is this happening again? Oh man, here it comes again. And if you don't train yourself to stop and go, what else is available? You'll own those first thought forms. They will become your reality, and you'll say, see, I'm right. You're not right. You're just experiencing your own mental energy. You could have chosen a much more love-filled outcome for everyone involved. But
So
sometimes you'll have to reel me back in.
no, it's perfect. So you've spoken about a divine council. Could you? I found that fascinating. Could you extrapolate on that?
Yes. If you're going to do an experiment to make an upcoming consciousness experience its own mental energy in an accelerated fashion, wouldn't you want a council to see how it's going, see how your experiment is going? That's the council. It's been known as many different things, but I guess mostly in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the seventh tablet is called the Seven Lords, and it tells about this light and dark Lords Council of seven each. 7 Lords of Light, 7 Lords of Darkness. And I've learned a lot about this because I was brought before this council. And to the Native American Indians, they call them the 7 War Chiefs and the 7 Peace Chiefs. But when I was brought into an ancient ceremony that involves flesh and blood sacrifice ceremony components, and I refused to participate, the veil dropped, and the Sundance chief said, Michael, I work with the 7 Lords of Light and the 7 Lords of Darkness. I'm the only one who sits directly in the middle of these two councils, and I'm the only one who holds a seat on both sides. And he went on to explain to me exactly what's going on, which was interesting. But I do want to say this particular person was revealing because he's been on Ancient Aliens many times. His name's Chief Golden Light Eagle. And you'll find out that there was a Chief Yahweh that was known to the Cherokee and the Iroquois. I'm Iroquois. A long time before the First Testament of the Bible. Chief Yahweh was said to be this individual who sat between these two galactic councils of war and peace chiefs. And he's the only one who sat directly in the middle of these two sides. And so when I found this out, was after he had told me, Michael, I work with the 7 Lords of Light and the 7 Lords of Darkness. Instantly, I was like, well, wait a minute. This means then, and the next time he and I were in a vehicle together, I said, man, this is really awkward, but Spirit has led me to understand that you are Yahweh, Enlil, my brother. And he said, yes, I've done some pretty messed up things, was his first words to me. And he said, I want you to know as well that this isn't the first time you and I have met. We've met in many other incarnations before, and the last time was not pleasant. It's like, oh shit, I don't know, even to this day, I don't know what that was about. But he did say, but I realize now you were only showing me my own darkness. So nearing the end of his life here, he and I began working closely together. and much brotherly love was flowing. And interestingly enough, we began, both of us, with who is the human avatar meat suit of Merlin or Anu. So Anu, myself, and Enlil got together with the Mitchell Hedges crystal skull and held ceremony here to unlock hidden history of this area to the native Indian Anunnaki hybrids, you know? And so all that's happening, and I just found out that all that's going to be turned into a documentary, and it's all being filmed professionally. So that's exciting stuff.
For sure. So, are the Anunnaki, are they immortal?
From that side, I've heard that they are. You know, I've only met the Anunnaki through a human avatar. I've not met a 16-foot tall, you know, native state Anunnaki, male or female. I've seen a photograph of a female.
Oh, wow.
You know, from A.R. Borden from the inside. She's beautiful. But I heard they're albinos with pinkish eyes. And the men can get up to be about 16 feet tall. And the women up to about 12 feet tall. But like I said, I've only met them through their human hybrid bloodlines.
So I have this theory that you know what the monad is?
No.
It's like the one, the source of all creation. It's
Okay.
It's not a personal god, but more like a, I don't know what you call it, more like an energy, the ground of being. And from what I understand about the Anunnaki, they reflect like light through a prism, and you have different gods for different things like love and wisdom. It's like the one mind of God is fractalized out in these beings. Am I onto something?
It's an interesting, because we're all one, you know, at some point, anyhow. But you know, I've heard that understand the state of consciousness as the sovereign integral. That it's an encoded word. You know, we become sovereign, that we don't give our I am, our energy away to illusionary outside sources. But we still understand we're an integral part of the whole, the sovereign integral. I think that's the same goal that the Anunnaki have. It's the same goal of any upcoming consciousness would want to become the sovereign integral state of whatever consciousness they're rising through.
So, what are the names of the council members? Is Enlil and Enki on the council, and Anu? Or so that's 3 out of what, 14, 13?
I don't know all of them. I can tell you one person that was involved with all this. Her name was Star Laughing Fox. She's dropped her robe now, but she was part of the naming ceremony, and a lot of what happened with the council, she was privy to. I've met Thoth in his human meat suit here. It's female, by the way, which is interesting. I've met Marduk through 2 different human vessels, which really freaked me out. I didn't know that was a possibility until it happened the second time, and it scared me. Actually, I was like, I came up with some reason why I couldn't stay over that night. I was visiting a dear couple, a friend of mine, and I was going to stay all night. And, when I met Marduk in New York, he became faceless. Not became, he was faceless. Now, I heard from some of the insiders that didn't surprise them because some of the Anunnaki do not look favorably upon mankind. And it's almost like you're not worthy to see our faces kind of deal, which obviously I don't agree with that. But it doesn't shock them that they would appear faceless to a mere mortal. But I know who he is here in the physical 3D world. Actually, a very big ranking high individual from NASA that I can't say his name, but he is as high up as you can go through the Apollo missions. That's interesting to me because no one could tell me differently. I know he was a channel that Marduk communicated through, and they're at that high a level within our government already. I guess it doesn't really surprise me, but I think about the conversation we had with new emphasis now. See, for any of that to make sense, I didn't know exactly who he was up until about a year ago. There was just no information out there, and then something told me I should recheck it. Sure enough, found what I was looking for.
So the stories from the Bible, they're describing the Anunnaki, right? For the Old Testament and the different gods involved there.
Mm-hmm. Well, in a fear-based way, it seems, but yeah, it's all in there.
Who is Satan in the Bible from the Anunnaki? So many
He would be.
misconceptions.
You're asking me my own opinion. It's a man-made character out of our own deepest fears, but it doesn't mean it's not real. It may be only an illusion, but it's a very real illusion. And there was the person that was in charge of the Anunnaki of reflecting back a negative polarity was Marduk. So you would probably think Marduk Ra would be then the one, if he's the one that's going to reflect back a negative polarity to humanity and make you experience your own fear-based thought form. If you came before him as a human that has a lot of fear, you're going to go demon, it's not, you're just being shown your own innards, but I get it. I don't have a problem with Marduk. I have a problem with Marduk's minions. But what I can tell you is why we even met in 2008 was they told me specifically that their way that they would relate to mankind and their succession of kingship was all based on a precessional cycle. And that's why the prophesied incoming age of Aquarius was so important to so many cultures because it would mark the end of this experiment to accelerate human conscious evolution. We would have either got a passing grade and evolved as quickly as possible to be more ready for this time that we're in right now, which evidently we did because we're talking right now. But it's exciting. 2016 was the actual end of the calendar, not 2012. with scientific proof to back that up, by the way, but we can just leave it at that. That means we're not through the proverbial Stargate very long. We've just entered the age of Aquarius. So now we're going through the phases of the implementation of a new golden age, and mankind will become a galactic society and a peaceful galactic society. How ripple free that's going to be is up to humanity. For people that have believed what they've been told to believe by the mass media, they might have a rough time with what's coming. I'm to the point I don't care anymore. I'm like, let's pull them kicking and screaming into the new age. You know, I mean, so what's holding up the party? What are they going to do? Like, oh man, this is actually not that bad. You know, but I said to the Anunnaki, I said, let's just throw up the cards in the air and let them fall where they may. I don't care anymore. And they said we would never throw the cards up in the air and let them land where they may. Shut me right down.
So are the Anunnaki planning on going public? Like showing themselves?
Yeah,
That's
I hear
very exciting.
I'm hearing the next full totality eclipse, which is what, April 8th, I do believe, 2024. When day becomes night, and this is actually some ancient prophecy from the mound builders that is going to be going public soon. And there's over 30,000 tablets that are known as the Michigan artifacts. And in these tablets, it talks about this next upcoming full totality eclipse. And pretty much what it said is whatever direction you happen to be traveling on your own spiritual evolution, you're going to be catapulted into that direction. So if you've not been doing your homework, and it could be a bumpy ride for you. But if you've learned to go inward and still the mind and meditate and breathe, it should be wonderful, you know. I'm looking forward to it all.
Me too. So, you're also pretty famous for your 432 hertz water. Can you explain this to the audience? It's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. That's weird because when I first met the Anunnaki, they told me I was once known as the water bearer. I'm like, what the hell's a water bearer? You know, that made no sense to me whatsoever. Or Inky, you know, if you don't know what the Anunnaki are, that didn't made no sense to me whatsoever. During this classroom that I was taken into, they began counseling me into bringing through an actual ancient Anunnaki technology. You see, I became part of the technology transfer program from the Anunnaki to the NSA. I was brought in from this fold as a contact practitioner. And, you know, exactly what it sounds like. So I'm starting to understand now that, you know, all of this was their gift to humanity, because what they found out, man, it's so much to try to put into words. I'm going to jump to the end and we could work our way back. I hired scientists to image my guitar, recording it in my studio, and I was meticulous about it being tuned properly and into tuning that would align you with galactic source energy. And then they imaged it. And right off the bat, they said, we've never seen this kind of complexity or dimensionality in anything we've ever imaged. It's a new science called cymatics, which makes frequency visible for the very first time. They said, we've used this technology to image everything from whale noises, dolphin noises, to baby noises, but we've never seen this kind of complexity or dimensionality. But we've never imaged an electric rock guitar amp. I said, yes, rock magic. They said they're thinking it was the tubes because, a good Joe Satriani or good Eddie Van Halen amp is about the only thing that still uses vacuum tubes as part of its construction. And then you have it being tuned to the ears of Eddie Van Halen as a great, and then it's not, tubes are organic. You know what I'm saying? So you put it all together. They were shocked at the results. And I had already learned this art of making what were called Pleiadian healing energy discs, which are quartz crystal glass. I should have one. I got plenty here, but and the idea was to use powerful sacred geometry within I'm sorry.
No worries.
So the sacred geometry was the most important thing to encode into the quartz crystal because like subtle energy, like pyramid power. But I had been learning about cymatics, which was Mother Nature's geometry, and it's much more potent. And the minute I encased my cymatic image into the quartz crystal glass, I could feel it. I was like, holy crap, So I started making my own version of the 432 frequency being holographically and quantumly entangled to that image, which was through a water blessing ceremony that I was taught by Enlil, Yahweh, Chief Golden Light Eagle. Oh, what I wanted to get back to, I know it sounds crazy of him saying or finding out he was Enlil here, but anyone can go and type in Chief Golden Light Eagle, Ancient Aliens, and find the backstage area of him explaining what it means to be a chief. And he's showing them his headdress. And he's like, what a lot of people don't understand is, every feather has a story. But a lot of people don't know that there's two kind of chiefs. There's war chiefs and peace chiefs. This one's the only one that's both. He was telling them he was Yahweh or Enlil. It's just they don't have the information to put together what he's telling them. But I can tell you, all the grandmothers know who he was and who they are, and it's not even a question to them. They know that we're the Atlanteans, who are the descendants of the Anunnaki.
So what I'm guessing is a guess on this point, but what is the purpose of the pyramids in Giza? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe. Think of right now NASA getting involved with my work and saying, it was Richard Hoagland, who was NASA's science advisor, contacted me and he said, we know your story sounds batshit crazy to a lot of people, but NASA has been looking into how energy flows hyperdimensionally, is what he calls it, for a very long time. And he said, your numbers are right on the money. So he's the one that arranged for NASA to look into my discs. And what they found is they're opening up a portal through the fabric of our space time and bringing in higher photonic light energy, which is higher. I'm finding out it's Tesla called it cosmic energy, 369 energy, unlimited free energy, chi, prana, life force, whatever you want to call it, I guess. But interestingly enough, in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, it says living water is an analogy of life force or chi or prana. And that's what's in the carrying bags. People are always saying, what's in the Anunnaki handbags? It's like, man, it's a pitcher of water.
Hmm. Very interesting. So I wanted to ask you, there's Marduk is Satan. Okay, I'll go with that. I've heard it before.
Mm-hmm.
What is heaven? Is that Nibiru, or is it a different plane? What is Nibiru for that matter?
It's another planet in our solar system, and that's our word for their planet. That's not what they call it. They call it the Sa'ami, and the people of the Sa'ami are the Sa'amai, and then Sa'amai translated to Western culture would be Sam, SAM. So when you're dealing with the NSA and reverse engineering division, they refer to them as the SAM. Not the Anunnaki is our word for them. Those from the heavens that came to Earth. Nibiru is our word of their planet. So,
And heaven, is that a thing?
uh, yes, but it's, I think us trying to understand what heaven is right now is so counterproductive. uh, you know, understanding God at this point of our evolution to me is kind of like a fly that's stuck in a 747. And all of a sudden it becomes aware enough to go like, what the hell? What am I a part of? No matter what that fly tries to do, it's not going to come up with the right answer of what's truly the reality of what it is. But it'll probably try to come up with something. And I think we're in the same boat as that fly, you know? And if I try to say I know what all that is, it just puts chains around what could be. And what I'm seeing is an intelligence that is hyperdimensional, that can work forwards and backwards in our own time frame intelligently, can become anything, both technological or biological. And this is proven by Bigelow Aerospace, who contacted me, who were the owners of Skinwalker Ranch. They had seen these orbs of light come down and take on the shape of giant deer or giant wolf. But in the UK, these orbs of light would come down and take on the shape of a giant triangular craft. This isn't my opinion. This is the UK Ministry of Defense and Bigelow Aerospace saying the real deal are these orbs of light that are showing up worldwide right now. And they can become anything in our space-time continuum, anywhere and any when. You know, that's a lot to wrap your head around.
Yes. So, if heaven is real, is there a hell? This has been used for thousands of years to scare people into submission. Is there something to
No,
it?
I wrote lyrics a long time ago. It says, it seems that somewhere, somehow, we went astray, and the lies they fed us filled us. Yet that was yesterday. How can you be so certain we're forgiven for our sins? Maybe the only hell we'll know we're living in. I
Right,
believe that,
right on, right
that
on.
hell is a self created prison, and only you can break you free. No one else can do it. You know, it's all self created.
So, since you've been around a lot of Native Americans, I'm guessing you know quite a bit about skinwalkers. I want your opinion on them.
They're the Anunnaki. It's
Really?
just a different, yes, just a
Oh,
different understanding. You know, even John Alexander, who was I believe, the senator who arranged for Robert Bigelow to get the contract from the Pentagon to look into this, they had asked him, and it's out on YouTube. Just type in John Alexander Skinwalker Ranch, and you'll find it. They said, "Have you and Robert Bigelow came to a conclusion to the intelligence behind the phenomenon?" And he said, "Yes, we've come to the conclusion that we've encountered the trickster," which is another terminology for the Anunnaki of, and their trickster nature of called Heyoka, of if you need a dark lesson, they're very good at making you experience your own dark energy and hopes you'll change it, you know. But yeah, so the trickster is the Anunnaki, and that's John Alexander's own words for the intelligence that they've encountered there at Skinwalker Ranch, and we're encountering it here. Because I can tell you, when they contacted me, one of the questions was, "How come you've had such a different experience? You've been given star knowledge and keys to cosmic harmonious frequency, and we've just got our pants pulled down." And it just shows us, because that's what John Alexander said, is what we've learned is it's definitely in charge, and it's more complex than we could have ever imagined. That's his own words. Um, so they know, you know, the government knows what they're up against, but obviously the grand reveal will be when they deem it. And they're telling me everything is pointing towards this next full totality eclipse. So we'll see. Time will tell.
that's very soon. I'm very excited. So, the Anunnaki. What are their goals for humanity? Are they united, or is do they have different goals?
Well, I think that's what Chief was talking about. You know, my brother, when he said, "I understand now you were only showing me my own darkness," because you need to know that Yahweh, for the last 7,000 years, we've been going through a dark age. So imagine the only person that had his ear was the Dark Bard, who was responsible for collecting the story of the state of the kingdom and organizing it in a palpable Shakespearean kind of story for the king to understand. So it was his role to report back mankind's worst case behavior for 7,000 years. So I can understand why he would get a little upset with humanity. Um, but all it takes is one person to go before that council and choose love over fear. to choose love relentlessly, regardless of the outside appearance of things. And once you can do that, they call it becoming rainbow. And rainbow doesn't mean to the Native American Indians what it means to the rest of the world. It's your chakras. And only when your chakras are clean and balanced, spinning freely, do they emit light, higher cosmic light. And from red in the root to purple in the crown and all the other colors of the rainbow in between. So only when all are spinning freely, one of the grandmothers during my naming ceremony, he said, to those of us that have the gift of sight, you've become the whirling rainbow. You are the rainbow that we've been waiting for. And she went on to explain the chakras. And she said, no extra manifestation ability is ever given from higher spiritual levels until you've proven yourself to be rainbow or a clean vessel. Because even if you had one of those chakras dull and not illuminated, let's say it's your root chakra. So in your life, you're experiencing all this darkness with trying to keep a roof over your head and, abundance issues and whatnot. All of a sudden, if you got all this extra manifestation ability, probably going to go to what you still got fear on and manifest the crap out of exactly what you don't want. And so I was told spirit is smarter than that. I love that. So, no extra manifestation ability is ever granted. And you don't go through this metamorphosis to become the sovereign integral until you've done your spiritual homework. And, the NSA call it bootstrap evolution. You're in charge of your own evolution, of cleaning up your own chakras. And so that's what we're here to do, is create rainbows. And I found out the Tibetan monks have the exact same understanding of obtaining the rainbow body, they would call it. In Norse mythology, you have the rainbow bridge, and the rainbow bridge is chakras. Again, it all comes back to becoming shiny again. Only when we've cleaned up our energetic centers. And I think that there's a real healing modality there that's not been taught here in the Western world. Like when you're going through trial and tribulation, who's taught us, well, that's a root chakra symptom issue. Oh, that's a throat chakra. Oh, you're having problems speaking your truth. You need to look into your throat chakra, and so on and so forth. And I think what's coming is working with a company called HeartMath, of having self biofeedback mechanisms to, when you're learning what chakra is being highlighted, then you'll be given visualization tools and things to listen to and things to watch. And I'm working on all of that as we speak.
That's great. Let's see more rainbows. So
yeah, why not?
So are there still? I've heard stories. I've heard of quite a few stories. Are there still giants roaming the earth?
Well, some of us are taller, but I am haplogroup X2A is a brand new lineage that was found that only exists in Native American Indians right now. I'm haplogroup X2A. It could be much higher than 3% because not too many Native American Indians has had their blood work done. Simple, But when you go back in time where you find haplogroup X2A in the highest numbers are the tall skeletons that were removed out of these mound builder sites, giants. And I think this is a very interesting talking point that no one seems to have brought up, that this is scientific DNA proof. Haplogroup X2A. Giant stature a few generations ago, now we're not. What's up with that? To me, it's proof of probably why abductions are still happening, because the stature had to be reduced so we didn't stick out like a sore thumb and be towering above the rest of humanity. But then if you keep going back even further in time, where you find the largest concentration of haplogroup X2A on the planet is the hills of Galilee, for real. This is the Sangreal, Holy Grail, bloodline that we're talking about. That's why I'm revealing who Yahweh Enlil is, who myself is, who my Anu being Merlin. Sorry, man, I got some serious dry lips going on. I should have brought some water in.
Wow. And that represents what?
We can talk about that. This was my first communication with the Anunnaki, and we can talk. Let me know when you want to start.
Well, it started. You're late to the
party. All right. When I met the Anunnaki back in 2008, they told me I was once known as Ea Enki, the water bearer. And at that time, I had no clue what the Anunnaki was. There was no Ancient Aliens on TV. Sure as hell didn't know what an Ea Enki water bearer was. So I just figured, I'll let it go. But I had learned already how to remote view, how to send my consciousness elsewhere, and pull in different timelines. And I asked them during these communications, I said, if you are who you say you are, and I am who you say I am, then encode the name Ea Enki into a crop circle. And I can tell you, I will take notice. I'm a student of the subject, and that'll be my confirmation that you are who you say you are. And then I thought, what a silly request. Can you imagine a big crop circle and it just says Enki, like in cursive? Looks like a big birthday cake, But then I thought, well, figure it out. You are who you say you are. Figure out a cool way to encode Ea Enki into a crop circle. And then I just let it go. And 2011, a crop circle finally appeared. That was a long 2 years, but during that time, they had begun to guide me into cymatics and looking at nature's sacred geometry attached to cosmic harmonious frequencies. All the notes of the scale, by the way. And what had happened was, when I asked the Anunnaki, encode a crop circle with the names Ea Enki, I will take notice. Then I got really cocky and I said, and encode it with something only I would be able to decode. And that'll be my proof, So 2011, this crop circle shows up what it is, you see those? I can't really see if you can see it or
Wheel a
not,
bit to
but
the left.
this way.
Down a bit. There we go.
Those rows of like dot dot empty dot dot dot. That's ASCII binary code, and when you decode it, it says EA space Inky.
Very cool. That's amazing.
And then the 7-pointed star is what points towards cosmic harmonious frequencies that are 432 based. When they're put through a cymatic scientific device, it creates a perfect 7-pointed star. So the 7-pointed star is forever intertwined into the 432 based math science understanding. And I can explain this really quickly.
Take your time.
You know, E equals MC squared. Well, physics now tells us everything is both particle and wave simultaneously. So where's the wave component? Because E is energy, M is mass or particle, and then C is the speed of light squared. What you find out is 432 squared is C, the speed of light. So the only frequencies that are truly harmonics of light are 432 based frequencies. So when you run it backwards, 432 times 432 becomes C squared times mass equals energy. And you see, that's kind of what I'm doing with my discs is somehow they're opening a portal and bringing through photonic light energy. This all gets into what you asked me about the pyramids. They're energy creators that specifically Christopher Dunn, who wrote the Giza power plant books, he's been on Ancient Aliens. He seen my discs and he was really excited. And he said they know that those interior rooms and chambers are tuned to resonate the strongest at 432 hertz. Isn't that mind-blowing? So that frequency alone, NASA has proven it can open up a portal through the fabric of our space-time and bring in chi, life force, prana. And NASA's really kind of blown away because it's the first time they've ever seen a cosmic energy collector that's been created that doesn't have moving parts. They don't understand how it's doing what it's doing. Said, I do.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, since you've interacted a lot with Native Americans, I'm guessing you'll have your own view on what Sasquatch is or Bigfoot. This topic always interests me.
Yeah, I have a lot of some of my closest friends actually communicate with Sasquatch. I've been very close and I've had some things happen around me that are very squatchy, like, big rocks being thrown, vocalizations that, when I was up in a mountain in Virginia, some very strange, otherworldly, I don't even know if it's Sasquatch, but up in the same mountain area, I've heard some very strange vocalizations. I don't know what those were. Matter of fact, I went back to my cousin because he was with me on one of these trips, and I said, Ray, do you remember when you and I were on that Rhino side by side, 4-wheeler, and we went up there and we just partied and smoked a little and we're just hanging out, and we heard the most unfreaking believable loud. It sounded like a dragon. It vibrated our insides of our guts. I was like, oh my God, if whatever that is has wings, we're fucked. Excuse my language. But so I asked him not too long ago about it. But Hill, I don't like to talk about that. I still got to go up there, you know. So was it a Sasquatch? I don't know. If it was Sasquatch, it would have had to have been like a freaking King Kong sized Sasquatch. I've asked the Navajo elder that I'm dear friends with, and he said it was a dimensional rift and that you were hearing something from another dimension. I said, well, that would make sense because, man, but guess what? When we left that field, we had to go right in the direction it came from. I was not happy with the situation.
So, what about? Have you heard of Dogman?
Yeah, just from the Skinwalker Ranch, people, I've never experienced that. So, not much I can say about it. I've heard about it.
So, when was?
What I can tell you that I've experienced, and I don't understand, but if you listen to Thomas Johnson, who's been on Ancient Aliens many times, and Thomas is the one that revealed to the world that that's a meteorite impact crater next to Serpent Mound. But I've done a lot of work there with Thomas and his wife, Terry Rivera, for the events there and whatnot. But he calls them doppelganger events, where someone would come into their rock shop and see Thomas out there, like working in the garden. And then the door would be open, and Terry's like, oh man, he doesn't know that there's customers. So she went in and he was already behind the bar. And she's like, how, wait a minute. He was just out there. And this happened over and over and over again to different people that were going there because it became famous because of the ghost activity, actually. So people from around the world send people to their home, and believe it or not, the Dollar General across the street, because it's becoming famous because there's video of like shit flying around in there, like otherworldly things. But I've experienced the doppelganger event happening in real time with Chief Golden Light Eagle narrating it, saying, you might see dimensions shifting here, and like you might see a woman that's walking up the hill behind you. And I looked, and there was a woman walking up the hill, and he said she might not even be there. That might be another dimension, and she wouldn't even see you. And that as you watch her walk up the hill, when you turn back around, she's going to be at the bottom of the hill, sitting there, never have moved. And I'm like, what the hell? And I turned and looked forward, and she was sitting at the bottom of the hill now. I don't understand, him being Enlil, Yahweh, his ability to control reality in some sort. I don't understand it, but I experienced it.
So, what do you think ghosts are?
I don't know.
I
I
have I have my own ghost story if you want to hear it.
yeah, please. I don't know. Dimensional rifts, things stuck in the cosmic glue. I don't know.
So I was up.
But please share.
Late one night watching some TV, and I went up to get some water. And above the sink is a window. So when I look up, the light from the kitchen reflected in the window, so it became like a mirror. And there, like a couple of meters behind me, I could see this old school maid with like a black dress, white apron, and a bonnet, just staring right at me. And I stood there for 5 whole minutes just staring at her because I was seriously freaked out. Like, there's a woman in my kitchen. What the fuck? Then I turned
Yeah,
around. Nothing. So that's why I'm asking. If
I'm not so sure anymore of anything because if this intelligence can become anything biological or technological in our reality, who knows what it can appear as anything. Could it appear as a ghost? I know it can. I was told that they have enough chi and prana in their subtle energy fields to bring in a new avatar at will, which means when they remote view, they're not in observer mode. They can bring in a new body and go up to the bartender and say, I'd like a drink, and drink it. They're not in observer mode anymore. That's pretty fascinating. So, if they can appear as documented, a giant wolf or a giant deer or a giant triangular craft, who's to say it can't appear as a dog or a human, someone you meet on the bus? What if God was one of us, just a stranger on the bus?
dropping rhymes. Yeah. Well, it's been a great time. I really enjoyed your answers and so on and so forth. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, I'm in. I
So let the people know where they can find you.
Once you get this, uh, my website is michaelleehill.net, and I'm at my friends limit for Facebook. But if you drop me a personal message and say you heard me here, I will get you added. But that's about it.
All right. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next one, mortals. Peace.
Peace.